So there I stood, all 5 feet 4 inches of unimpressive human flesh, in the middle of the most prestigious military recruitment station this side of the Andromeda Galaxy. And let me tell you, the welcome committee was about as warm as a cryo in an ice bath. The Galactic Defense Corps Recruitment Center buzzed with activity, if you could call the various clicks, hisses, and subsonic rumbles that passed for conversation among the assembled alien species buzzing. Maya clutched her acceptance letter, trying not to look as out of place as she felt among beings that could bench press a small moon. Commander Vex Colors, a towering Thoron with skin like polished obsidian and eyes that glowed an unsettling shade of amber, surveyed the new recruits with the enthusiasm of someone examining week-old space rations. His gaze lingered on Maya for exactly 2 seconds before moving on, apparently deciding she wasn't worth the extra attention. "Another human," muttered Sub-Commander Trix, a lay insectoid creature whose mandibles clicked with amusement. "What's next? Recruiting house pets?" The nearby Thorak warrior caste recruits rumbled with laughter, their massive frames shaking like geological events. Maya counted 6 of them, each standing at least 8 feet tall, with hide thick enough to stop plasma rounds. One of them, Thorak Prime, looked down at her with 4 yellow eyes. "Soft pink thing, very small," he observed in broken galactic standard. "Will break easy, yes," Maya smiled politely. "Oh, if only you knew," she thought. The crystalline hive mind recruits chimed in harmony, their translucent bodies shifting color to indicate their shared amusement. Query: how did this specimen pass preliminary screening? Assessment: physical parameters inadequate for military service. Now, Commander Vex Color's voice cut through the mockery with the authority of someone who'd seen too many recruitment cycles. "Every species brings unique capabilities to the Corps. Even humans have their uses." The pause before uses was so loaded with condescension, Maya could have charged admission to witness it. A Venetian gas being floated nearby, its form shifting between purple and green. Perhaps waste disposal, it suggested. Humans excel at consuming organic matter. More laughter rippled through the assembled recruits. Maya maintained her pleasant expression, though her grip on the acceptance letter was tight and slightly trembling. She'd heard it all before during the preliminary interviews. Humans were weak, slow, fragile, lacking any obvious predatory adaptations. They had no natural armor, no claws, no venom, no psychic abilities. What they didn't know, what none of them suspected, was exactly why Maya had been specifically recruited by the GDC's most classified division. "Attention recruits," Vex Color's voice carried the weight of impending doom that all drill instructors seem to master. "You will now proceed to barracks assignment. Training begins at 0600 standard time. Try not to die on the first day. The paperwork is excessive." As the crowd began to disperse, Maya caught fragments of conversation from her fellow recruits. Most of it centered around speculation about how quickly the human would wash out. 10 credits says she doesn't last a week, wagered Alterion, whose metallic skin gleamed under the station's harsh lighting. "Too generous, 3 days maximum," countered another. Maya shouldered her modest duffel bag and followed the group toward the barracks, her expression remaining perfectly calm. Let them laugh, let them place their bets. Soon enough, they'd learned that sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one you never see coming. Dawn broke over Training Complex Alpha 7 like a cosmic joke, and Maya was the punchline. The morning physical assessment had all the charm of a public execution. Guess who was playing the starring role of victim? The obstacle course stretched before them like a metallic nightmare designed by someone with serious anger management issues. Thorak Prime bounded over barriers that would make Olympic hurdlers weep, his massive frame moving with surprising grace. The crystalline hive minds flowed through tight spaces like liquid intelligence, reforming on the other side without missing a beat. And Maya? Well, Maya face-planted into the first mud pit with all the athletic prowess of a 3-legged giraffe having an identity crisis. "Pathetic," Instructor Grimvolt announced, his vocal cords producing sounds that could strip paint. "The human requires assistance to traverse basic terrain obstacles." The assembled recruits watched with barely concealed amusement as Maya struggled through the rope climb. Her hands were too small, her grip strength laughable compared to beings who could crush diamond with their fingertips. She made it halfway before sliding down like butter on hot metal. Thorak Prime completed the same climb in 4 seconds flat. Perhaps kitchen duty would suit the human better, suggested Six Nala, believed consciousness of the crystalline collective. Food preparation requires minimal physical capability.
Maya dusted herself off, nodding agreeably. "That's very thoughtful of you," she said, as if they'd offered her a promotion instead of an insult. The strength trials were even entertaining if you enjoyed watching someone attempt to bench press what amounted to a paperweight surrounded by beings casually lifting the equivalent of small spacecraft. Maya's personal best barely registered on equipment calibrated for actual warriors. During combat simulations, she moved like someone learning to walk in low gravity wearing mittens. The Altreon recruit's metallic skin deflected training rounds that would have put Maya in the medical bay for a week. She spent most sessions on the defensive, which is a polite way of saying she got her rear end handed to her repeatedly. "The soft pink creature lacks predatory instincts," observed Vex Tolar, a serpentine Thoron, whose scales shifted color with emotion. Currently, they displayed the deep blue of profound disappointment. But here's where things got interesting, in a way that nobody seemed to notice except Maya herself. While everyone else focused on dominating the training exercises, Maya was doing something completely different. She was watching, learning, cataloging behavioral patterns with the dedication of a scholar studying ancient texts. She noticed how Thorak warriors became aggressive when cornered, but responded to confident commands. She observed how the crystalline hive minds coordinated through subtle color shifts that preceded their movements by exactly 2.3 seconds. She cataloged which species had pack mentalities, which were solitary hunters, and which were all bluster and no bite. During meal periods, while others boasted about their scores, Maya quietly listened to their stories, tales of homeworlds, hunting traditions, and territorial disputes, information that painted detailed pictures of their species' evolutionary backgrounds. "Final evaluation approaches," whispered Creeks 9, a cybernetic being whose optical sensors glowed red. Rumors suggested unprecedented challenge this cycle. "What kind of challenge?" Maya asked innocently. The table fell silent. Meaningful glances were exchanged, the kind that suggested everyone knew something she didn't. "Nothing the human need concern herself with," Thorak Prime rumbled dismissively. The evaluation required capabilities beyond soft flesh limitations. Maya nodded thoughtfully, filing away yet another piece of the puzzle. 3 weeks into training, her performance statistics read like a comedy routine. Dead last in physical trials, bottom percentile in combat effectiveness, and tactical assessment scores so low they practically required archaeological excavation to find. What nobody bothered recording was her perfect score in something they didn't even know they were testing, understanding the predatory nature of every single being around them. But hey, who keeps track of useless talents like that? Week 4 arrived with all the fanfare of a funeral march. She had achieved something truly spectacular. She had redefined the meaning of military incompetence. Her performance scores weren't just bad, they were artistically terrible, like someone had taken failure and turned it into performance art. The strength assessment results were particularly impressive if you appreciated statistical anomalies. While Thorak Prime could deadlift 2,400 kilograms, Maya maxed out at 75. That's not a typo, folks. 75 kilograms. The crystalline recruits could exert more force with their thinking appendages than Maya could generate with her entire body. "Perhaps," suggested Instructor Grimvolt during one particularly painful evaluation session, "the human should consider alternative career paths. Waste management shows promising growth." The speed trials were equally enlightening. Maya's best sprint time clocked in at what most species considered a leisurely stroll. Vex Tolar moved sideways in days while Maya could manage in a straight line. Even the gas-form Venetians, who technically didn't have legs, could traverse distances more efficiently. Combat simulations became a source of entertainment for the other recruits. They gathered to watch Maya attempt basic defensive maneuvers with all the coordination of a broken protocol droid. Her reaction times were slow, her tactical awareness non-existent, and her ability to adapt to changing combat scenarios was roughly equivalent to a decorative plant. "The soft pink creature lacks predatory instincts," observed the Crystalline Collective, their harmonic voices chiming with scientific fascination. Query: how did this specimen pass preliminary screening? The mockery had evolved from casual dismissal to genuine bewilderment. How could any species produce something so utterly inadequate for survival, let alone military service? Maya had become a walking contradiction to evolutionary theory. "Poor little human," the narrator inside it seemed to whisper, clearly out of her depth in a galaxy filled with superior life forms. But during off-duty hours, Maya displayed behaviors that nobody bothered to analyze. She'd sit quietly in the common areas, observing interactions between different species with the focus of someone solving complex equations. When Thorak warriors got into territorial disputes, she'd note the specific postures that preceded either submission or escalation. She watched how the Decori's scale patterns shifted during stress, how the Alterion metallic skin dimmed when threatened, and how the crystalline collective's harmonics changed frequency based on their collective emotional state. Every species had tells, behavioral patterns that revealed their underlying psychology. During one memorable incident, when recruit Vex Tolar became agitated over meal distribution protocols, Maya quietly approached and used a specific vocal tone that immediately calmed the serpentine being. Nobody guessed how she knew exactly which frequency would soothe an angry Thoron. They simply attributed it to lucky timing. Her personal quarters told a different story. Hidden among regulation gear were detailed notebooks filled with behavioral observations, species-specific response patterns, and what could only be described as comprehensive psychological profiles of every life form in the training complex. The other recruits